4 people were injured by these rocket attacks. 2 rockets landed on the southern suburbs of Beirut, a district called Shayah. The southern suburbs is the headquarters of Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's the southern part of Beirut, which is very heavily controlled by Hezbollah. So this was very clearly an attack that was aimed at Hezbollah and in protest, if you like, at this speech that was given last night by Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. Now, we understand that the target, or what was hit, was a car dealership, and 4 Syrian labourers were sleeping inside it, and they were injured. The attack was about 7 a.m. this morning. Now, Hassan Nasrallah's speech does seem to have been explosive. It's already provoked an angry reaction. He very explicitly, for the first time, confirmed his group's large-scale action in Syria, particularly in the area of Al-Qusayr, which is just across the border from Lebanon. He said victory in that battle was for Hezbollah. He said that Syria was the backbone of the resistance. That's what Hezbollah calls its movement. And he accused... He said the reason for that was the presence of Takfiri groups. That's very hardline Sunni Muslims who don't believe that any other Muslims who don't share their ideology are real Muslims. They were the ones who were leading the rebels in that area. So a very explosive speech, and this seems almost certain to have been a reaction to it.
Lucy, is there any word on exactly where the rockets came from, which side of the border?
Well, it seems to have been, according to the Interior Minister who's just spoken, from a fairly close area to the southern suburbs, just southeast, he said, from a remote rural area. So it seems to have been fired from nearby. The likelihood is, although of course it's too soon to say with any certainty, that this was a small group operating. It's very unusual for rockets to land on the southern suburbs. I can't remember another incident like this, but there have been rocket attacks where rockets have been fired across into Israel, not just by Hezbollah during wars, but by smaller groups. So there are groups that have the capability to do this, probably Sunni hardline groups angered by Hezbollah's involvement in Syria. Now, we've seen a lot of tension. I was in the Bekaa Valley yesterday, Hezbollah stronghold again, but I was in a Sunni village, and as a Hezbollah convoy went through carrying one of its dead fighters to a funeral, a fighter killed in Al-Qusayr, young men from the town attacked the convoy. We saw them throwing sticks and rocks. Gunmen immediately jumped out of the convoy, and it looked as if it was going to get very nasty indeed, but things were calmed down. So that was just a sign of the tensions in the country since Hezbollah, especially since Hezbollah announced its very heavy involvement in Al-Qusayr. And Hezbollah, of course, is Shiite. The Sunnis of the country support the uprising in Syria. So it's very tense situation indeed.